Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Can I please just ask the technical deck to just flip over to this little video? We will be preparing, please. While they're doing that, I'd just like to say that I would like to sort of refrain from talking too much about what we're doing, and I have instead prepared a little video that I think summarizes the approach of Telecentre-Europe on digital inclusion. It gives a definition of what telecentres are across Europe. It draws on the policies, it draws on some success models that exist across Europe, and hopefully after the little video, it's about 4 or 5 minutes, we'll have the opportunity to have a more interactive discussion on what Telecentre-Europe actually does. Thank you. Can you please start the video? Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I hope to enjoy this little video. I hope it sort of summarizes the approach we're taking with Telecentre-Europe. Just to give you a brief overview of Telecentre-Europe, if we can switch to the PowerPoint presentations again, please. Right, okay, let me just give you a little bit more background on Telecentre-Europe before we move on to Roshan. And then hopefully we can still, actually I realize we're standing between you having lunch, but we'll be quick, I promise. So Telecentre-Europe hasn't been around that long. Actually, the first attempts for us to create a pan-European network of telecentres started first in 2007, and until 2010 in October we operated as an informal network of telecentres. Currently we cover 41 European countries. It's the EU 27 countries plus 15 more countries around Europe, some of them in pre-accession process, but also what we call at the edge of Europe in terms of geography. So Telecentre-Europe was set up legally and it's now based in Brussels. We are an international working organization, but we are supporting a whole range of organizations. It was interesting to hear Flora talk about public access or not public access. Would it be private? Will it not be private? Telecentre-Europe works with a whole range of partners and stakeholders. We work with government in some countries, like in Portugal, because we have a colleague here from Portugal. We work with the government. In some other countries, like in Latvia, we work with the private sector, with the NGO sector, with the civil society. So really, Telecentre-Europe is quite an inclusive network that works with any kind of telecentre networks. We call them telecentres. We've had this discussion, you know, whether telecentre really is the right word to express what we mean. But for us, it doesn't really matter. You know, the definition of a telecentre, as far as we're concerned, is just basically a publicly accessible place where people get help with technology. And they could be libraries, or they could be government set up internet access points, or they could be called community technology learning centers, or community centers, e-centers, I-centers. They called all sorts of things. But basically we agreed in Europe we're going to call them telecentres, and they basically work towards the same goal of achieving digital inclusion for those who are not yet benefiting from the information society. Okay. You heard this figure in the presentation that we just, in a little video that we ran, 292 million Europeans lagging behind, being actually disconnected, not benefiting from what's going on. What we're advocating with the European Commission and governments in Europe is that actually with telecentre networks in their countries, they're sitting on a gold mine. Telecentres should be seen as those vehicles that actually provide instant information access to their communities. Just imagine trying to promote e-signatures. In Europe, this is a big thing. You know, every e-commerce activity you do, you have to have an e-signature. It's really, really difficult to actually implement this, you know, in rural areas or in sort of more geographically disconnected, remote areas across Europe. But actually, through the telecentre networks, this is possible. And it's only recently, even in Europe, who's supposedly be more developed, is that there's more attention given to the potential and to the role of telecentres and what they could actually do to bring information and technology and e-government and e-services to the populations. At the moment, as I said, we have 80 organizations in 53 nations. Now, we have about 40 in Europe, but luckily we've also had some other countries joining Telecentre-Europe, and to be quite honest, that has enriched a lot our learning experience. And before I hand over to Roshan, let me just say what a wonderful opportunity this is for us at Telecentre-Europe to get together with representatives of networks from other continents, because I think what we've observed inside Telecentre-Europe and what we're hoping to continue to achieve here is that to learn from each other and actually scale up all the good models we can see across the world. Thank you.